Alright all, this will be the last time I'm doing this for my Let's Learn series, but it's time for another character development episode. And we're basically going to talk about where my characters come and where he's going to go. So last time, when my character basically was playing this game, I sort of leveled up a little bit and leveled up some stuff. We basically have more or less the core stuff of my town sort of out of the way. And sorry, one moment, there's actually a phone call. Alright, that was fun. No answer. Anyhow, so last time basically I sort of got the core towns over here out of the way. And I could put a point like here in Fixed Scan or another point here in Piercing Sight. But for the most part, I'm very happy, so to speak, on how this character sort of developed. I've got the racials that I really want to sort of have on this character. Picked up more or less all the stuff over here I need to. And I got sort of a choice chance sort of to make way with this character. And at this point, we're also investing now in escort, the escort reward for Celestial Light that I got from Norfil from the past. And I can make use of these categories to sort of buffer up my character a little bit further. On the class side, we basically, we pursued getting a little bit more of, let's open this. Opened up here, and I got we got Cripple up and underway. I picked up a little bit more of Rush. And these abilities, along with Shadow Step, I've been using these sort of, more mobility, more debuff ability, making just great use of this to sort of keep my my characters capable of getting into combat and taking out guys and ripping them to shreds without them being able to do anything. So all around, my character's doing pretty damn good. Now I'm basically going to continue on to invest here in Spell Temporal. This category, I said in the beginning, this would be a category I'd be going for, so now I'm starting to invest in it. It's got some very good abilities like Time Shield and Essence of Speed, which I'll basically show off in the near future. I'll probably maybe push on to get Essence of Speed as fast as possible. Faster global speed will mean that my character can move around very fast and get a whole lot of actions in to basically rip people to shreds when I want to. I may also invest up here in Blind Speed, which will, on top of this, mean a very huge amount of ability to sort of just trash opponents before I can do anything. So yeah, outside of that, there's stats. Dexterity is maxed out. We actually have base stat of 61. I don't know how we got that up all the way up there. We have I guess maybe we got that from the Worm Bile when I had that. Anyhow, I'm basically going to continue investing my stats over here. I'm going to bump up cunning all the way to 60, and then we'll start bumping up our magic as high as possible, and then we'll pretty much be done over here. And yeah, I think Worm Bile actually boosted up all this stuff. Worm Bile boosted us up by 2, I think. So yeah, oddly, I guess your base stats will get boosted up by Worm Bile if you. That's good to know in the future. Anyhow, so yeah, enough in stats. I'm basically just going to max out my core stats and be done with it. So, in a nutshell, I'm basically just going to move on to invest here in Spell Temporal and Spell Celestial Light, and I might pick up Blind Speed over here as well, along with these finishing up these Piercing Sight and Fixed Skin Towns. So, I want to basically go over sort of building your character and designing it and all that. I'll note that I built my character probably a lot more different than most other people might. I'll note, for example, something I never really did in this character that I could have worked very well. Down here's a spell called Illuminate. If you get 5/5 Illuminate, this is a very effective AoE type ability. In the past, people made use of Illuminate to basically just blast their foes and run off away from them to basically heal up and do it again. And it's very effective in basically trashing foes. Same with say over here, Dave. Where is it? In Ambush. In Ambush, there's this ability, Ambush Escape, which basically do the same thing. Many of these abilities, there's different ways to sort of play the Shadow Mage. The way I sort of made for my character was to go for a very offensive build, and the offensive portion of the build was pretty much just to go up to the opponents and kill them as fast as possible, or to basically make use of say dual strike here, or to smash them with cripple. And the purpose of those abilities would be to basically stun them or to cripple them so that they would be unable to really mount an offensive attack against me very effectively. So what you really want to do with playing your characters, or any character in general, is sort of think about what you're going to do to sort of handle situations. the way I sort of like deal with the Shadow Blade is to make this guy as offensive as possible, and debuff enemies that might be difficult as they sort of come up. And at the same time, I sort of avoid like AoE abilities in favor of like the Prodigy over here. I picked up Windblade with the purpose of making use of this to sort of trash any AoE or any guys in AoE that surround me, and that's basically how I'm basically getting through this game. Um, at the same time, I picked up a whole lot of mobility and stuff like Rush and Shadow Strike and Shadow Step. These abilities let me get into like melee with like casters type of characters or other guys who can hit me at range. And the purpose for that was basically just so I'm very flexible on this character. Whenever I start a fight, regardless of where the guy can hit me at melee or not, I can sort of get the first hit on them with my mobility. And if like just multiple foes or if a guy's like gonna run from me, I have a secondary ability to sort of follow up on him. And that's basically sort of like how this sort of character is sort of built. Regardless of the situation, you basically want to be able to handle whatever enemies can sort of do, or like try and get the better of you, so to speak. My character is all about basically hitting fast and hard and retreating if it like runs out of mana or stamina or anything like that, and it'll serve me quite well for pretty much the rest of the game. Other things that you could do, however, is like go for like a more blasty approach. You could like use Illuminate here to like blind your guys, and then just basically get to jump on them and trash them that way. Or some people have even opted to use like invisibility or stealth. And the purpose of these is basically enemies will never know where you are, and once you get the abilities high enough, so to speak, of spell power or with cunning or whatever. And with invisibility and stealth, people would basically be, or enemies would be unable to basically really effectively target you. And they might even attack at the wrong style where you may not be, thinking you're there. So, when sort of what I'm getting at here, you want to sort of think about your characters in terms of what their sort of aspects are, and what the situations might be, situations that might come up that they have to sort of handle. I'll basically sort of touch on like a few things then, or actually a nice little way to basically go over to touch on something that someone actually wrote. We're going to, actually, you know what, we're just going to get rid of that sound in the background. I don't really need to have like the sound effects on for this episode, so let's see, game options. No, that's not it. What is it? Audio options. Alright, turn that off. So we're just going to go to Steam right now, and we're just going to jump into forums. And this is like a really good way of sort of touching on like sort of abilities that you should really think about when building characters. So a while ago, someone had wrote up like a sort of like tiered list of like difficulty for classes in Nightmare difficulty, and those tiers are actually very beneficial to sort of like telling you like the different ways you can sort of like play a character. So I'm just going to go to spoilers here, and let's see here, where is it? Class tier list. So written by BPAT, this is like sort of like a breakdown of like all the classes and how difficult they might be, but it actually does very well to sort of tell you something about like the sort of aspects you sort of have to consider of your characters. So he basically breaks this down to offense, defense, utility control, mobility, and difficulty. And these are basically 5 very important like sort of elements that you sort of have to think about. Offensively, your character, you want to make sure your character is sort of offensively powerful enough to take out enemies that might come up. Sometimes, like say with Porous Fury, that's like a sort of situation where you want to be able to really trash that sort of opponent really quickly, or you want to be able to more or less just prevent him from basically getting the better view. So something like utility control, or utility control wouldn't be so great with him, and he basically, you can't really defend against him as well. So you need like good offensive sort of right to take him out before he really causes too much trouble. Something like defense. Defense is good if like you want to sort of like keep alive. Some characters like my own are like say not really the greatest defensively. They have defensive abilities to sort of prevent themselves from dying, but defensively my character, he can't really take hits, and if a spellcaster comes up to him, spellcasters can like cut through my defense easily because they don't really check defense to begin with. So it's like there's many of these things how you look at them. You want to basically think about what type of aspects you have to sort of like buff up or like prepare for if like if something like attacks you where you're weak. My Shadow Blade, he's basically weak in 2 departments. He's weak in the ability, so to speak, of spell saves, or any saves for that matter, and he's also weak in the ability to sort of take spell damage. If spellcasters come up to me, the best thing that they can like really do to me is just hit me with spells. So this also goes for like worms and like dragon type enemies, for example. They're not really spellcasters, but they have like the ability to use attacks that basically just bypass my defense stat and basically hit me directly. Those like abilities, those can really tear into my character and do a lot of damage. That's one of the reasons I didn't do the Rune of Death, for example, in like the Vault or the Armory of Vor. Vor's armory with those like overpowered multi-hued drakes and like worms and all that. Those guys do a lot of like damage to my character because I don't really have any way of defending against it. I don't have a good HP pool. I don't really have good defenses or resistances towards those attacks, and those would kill me very easily if I was to try and attack them. Another situation where it might be kind of detrimental would be against like well, let's put I really followed me up with the Grand Corruptor. The Grand Corruptor is like a spellcaster type of enemy who has abilities that not all of them really focus on like direct damage, but rather they focus on like spell saves and like other stuff like that. What he could do, he could try and like go after my spell saves, which I don't have anything really to complement for, and he basically destroy me just with those like type of saves. Same of course Fury, for example. He could place detrimental effects on me if or not really course Fury, but if there's like a bunch of spellcasters, a lot of other enemies, and like they put debuffs on me, the other enemies are gonna get an advantage on me, even if I kill those like debuffing enemies. And those are like the sort of things you have to sort of consider about. Now I'll go through his list. Now basically it's like go down to a thing for Shadowblade because it sort of holds true for the the normal difficulty as well. So here's the Shadowblade. Shadowblades, they're very strong offensively, and they have very good mobility, but they lack a little bit in defense and I won't say utility control, but they're not really as great as other stuff for the ability to control enemies. The thing about the Shadowblade is that you have to sort of think about how you want to sort of like deal with like your defense and how you want to deal with your utility control. With the offense ability, so to speak, all you really have to do is just like get into the melee of stuff and just rip them to shreds. If there's a bunch of them, you have like Whirlwind or Sweep, or if you're like me, you can purchase Windblade, and those abilities will just rip through guys very easily. And that can like offense is, as I can say, the best defense for a lot of stuff. If you kill stuff, they can't really do anything. So that's like one way of sort of making use of the Shadowblade. Just kill stuff before it has a chance to do anything. But I can't really rely on my offense to always kill stuff. So I have to sort of think about how I can get by defense and utility control. I'll note that this isn't entirely true about Shadowblades. They do have, fairly good, abilities to sort of, debuff enemies. Like, they have Cripple, and I'll basically be able to use Congeal Time, and those abilities will be able to slow down enemies. And the ability to slow down enemies shouldn't be underrated. It can do a lot of ability to sort of, prevent an enemy from doing anything to really harm you. But more or less, it does sort of hold true for some instances. And you want to sort of, think about how can your Shadowblade, if I can't really debuff the enemy and offense is not going to work, how can you sort of get by them? One way would be just like hit and run tactics. So basically, I could basically whittle them down very slowly. And you'll probably see me do this in the final fight, for example. I'll basically just rip through a guy, and as I sort of get weaker and weaker, I'll basically just run away, heal up a little bit, and then come back to finish off the job. And sort of like keep going that way. I'll note that for recommended projects down here, he says Flexible Combat, Draconic Will, Cauterize, Arcane Might. I'm not sure I really agree with all of these. For example, I picked up Windblade, and as I said, Windblade was great for like augmenting my ability to sort of do AoE, so I could focus my talent points elsewhere. And I do agree, however, with one thing: Temporal. You do want to pick up Temporal on the Shadowblade. Anyhow, you can read up on his little list if you want. You just go to the forums and you can find it. It's a class tier list and spoilers, and that's basically all about that. So one thing to sort of think about is where I'm basically going to go from here. So I'll note that my character is not all just about talents and skills and all that. It's also about the equipment, and I basically really haven't been talking a whole lot about equipment because I haven't really found anything really decent. But I really do have to start talking about it at some point. So this will probably be the last one, so I might as well do it now. Equipment can really make the difference between sort of making up for your character's weaknesses if you have any. Stuff like these boots, for example, let me jump away from stuff, and that can let me run away from stuff if I'm in a fight where I want to run away from them. Some things like Fortune's Eye lets me track guys, so I can see where they might be, and I can use the ability to sort of track them to sort of like anticipate what I can do to sort of take advantage of them. And stuff like, you know, this ring here can like give me a big boost in speed that I can use to tear through guys very quickly as well. Stuff like this, you want to sort of like, you know, you want to augment your equipment so that it basically buffs up your character's strengths and makes up for your character's weaknesses. And this, along with like prodigies, will do it. So I'm basically carrying this Ferrous Steel ammo because it helps with my fatigue. And I've only got 200 fatigue on this character, and stuff like, you know, these talents here will really chew into my fatigue if I use them. And I'll note, by the way, if I go to this is like 0% fatigue. I want to note, by the way, you can't get your fatigue lower than 0%. So stuff like this is all still going to cost a whole lot, even without, you know, any fatigue factor in. And, you know, fatigue is something I want to be very careful of. Now, stuff. Well, I should probably just drop on one more note as well before, you know, sort of ending this episode. This will be a very quick episode, so to speak. But we're going to be able to invest in our prodigy eventually. And I want to note something. Much like with the generic points I sort of had here, I sort of had a couple there left off. And after like I like got that potion and level up there because I couldn't really put them in here, and I didn't feel like putting it in there. And I was saving them up for like, you know, down here. That's the thing to note. You can actually save your like, you know, your talent points and stuff like this until like you're ready to use them. You don't have to invest them as soon as you get them. And that pretty much worked kind of well for me. I basically saved up a few points and I was able to drop them into the celestial category here to pick up all these like stuff already. So I have access to Providence and I can make use of it. I have Barrier here. I have access to Bathe and Light. And this will be all very useful stuff to sort of augment my character and make him a little bit stronger. Now, I'm pretty much going to do the same for prodigies. I want to note that at level 42, I'm going to get my next prodigy point, and you only get 2 prodigies on a character. But I don't really want to have any of this stuff in here. I could get perhaps Giant Leap, and I might want to make use of, say, Ivan Tiger, but none of these really sort of interest me. However, I am trading up my magic stat over here, and something I could possibly do was, say, go with Arcane Might, for example, which could basically boost up my damage a little bit further. Or I could like go for some of this other stuff in here, like this guy mentions Cauterize as an ability you might want to go for it. I don't really think much of Cauterize, but it can be a very powerful ability if you know how to use it. Stuff like, let's see here, Temporal Form. This is also another good one. Temporal Form basically turns you into a Temporal Elemental, and you basically get your temporal damage, basically, you know, all your damage is turned into temporal type of damage instead, and at the same time you gain temporal resistance. Penetration, so basically your 20% of your damage is going to get through the target. If you're like, let's say on this character, right now for my damage penetrations, I suppose they don't really show up here, do they? No, they don't. Okay, so I'm just going to go through here. So my character, you want to sort of like think about your damage penetration. So this right here, these change resistance penetration, so I have like a little bit of penetration for all these elements. But something to note then is that unless you have penetration and good penetration for your character, you might not be able to penetrate a foe that has a whole lot of defense very easily. And this will come up majorly in like the final fight. The final fight, the guys have very good resistances, so you want to be very careful of those resistances and how you want to get through them. One way of getting through it would be sort of to make through make use of the temporal form here. If I use temporal form, I could use it to like get 20% penetration on temporal resistance, and that will let me basically cut through them very easily, so to speak. You also get access to a couple of other abilities available with temporal form, but we'll get into those perhaps if I actually pick up this talent. I might just opt for just picking up Arcane Might over here, just so I can boost up my damage a little bit more. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Alright, so my character here, he's like more or less getting out of the way and just getting ready. One thing to sort of note, I didn't really touch on this, but it's something that sort of happened, but whenever you get to like a certain stage of the game, like after I beat the Master in Dreadfall, shops like this will actually reset. So Sarah's Herbal Infusions is actually going to have a little bit more infusions now if I look at it. This is like, as a result of me being the Master of Dreadfall. This will happen twice in a game. Whenever you kill the Master, you get one reset of the shop, and it basically drops a whole bunch of other stuff in here. And it'll also happen again at another later point. And obviously use that time to sort of look at like what I can do to sort of improve my character. So we're just going to look in here and see what I can possibly use to sort of buff up my character and make him a little bit better. So I note that basically all this stuff seems to be the new stuff in here. So it looks like we got like a a bunch of wild infusions, a regeneration infusion of Titan, so this skills of Constitution, not really great for me, but I'll note that even though it's not that great, the amount of life that you're actually getting from it is really high, so this would be a good infusion if I was like using like Constitution. Here's like the old version for strength that's still in there. Not really great. Not really going to care about it. And hello, this looks very entertaining. So here's a hero's infusion of the sneak, I guess. And this skills of cunning stat. I'm training my cunning stat, so the effects of this infusion are going to get a little bit better even before I even finish off investing in my cunning stat, so to speak. And something I might do is pick this rune up. This has a cooldown 25, and it boosts all my stats. This one boosts by 20, boosts my life by 170. If I compare it to this one basically boosts them by 18. Okay, so this is a little bit worse, but if you're looking for stuff, you can look in here to find like better stuff for your character to sort of make use of. And that might include one of these, for example. So movement infusion right now is like only 523. So that's technically better there, I think, that's sun infusion. But we'll look around from the other shops first. So here's one here for the rune shop. I can go in here and look around. If I want a better rune, here's where I can look for it. This gives me like a rune for shielding. That could be very useful. There's a dexterity scaling heaping rune. If that had a better cooldown on it, I might want to be opting for taking that, say, over the wild infusion right here. Even though this gives like good, damage reduction, this would be kind of useful for, say, damage it does. Not really that great, but it could be better. But it's something to sort of consider. All right, I don't really see anything in here I really care about. This is kind of something I do care about, but it's got a long cooldown, and I sort of prefer something like this with a quicker cooldown. Now, I'm not sure how many shops get specifically reset, but I do believe that if you go to Anglin, they also get their shops reset for infusions and ruins, so we'll go there. And go and look at those ones. Now, I should note, by the way, you want to update your inscriptions if they're weak at any given time. If you notice that you have, like, say, a weak inscription of some sort, do whatever you can to sort of replace it with something better. Specifically something that will still help your character, but, something that's better than what you currently have. So here's an Anguin now. It looks like they do get reset, so we can look in here. Here's a physical infusion that basically scales with willpower. It doesn't look that great specifically, but it does have one advantage over my current one right here. This one basically goes and it does the resist 20%, and it lasts for 6 turns. This one down here, basically, it's a little bit weaker. So this is actually a little bit better physical resistance infusion, so to speak of, that I can make use of. And I can pick it up, buy it, and I can make use of that. And the other stuff in here I really don't really care about, I don't think, so whatever. Don't really need it. And we just go in here, I can pick this up, use it, replace our current wild infusion, and there we go, it's done. I didn't check the rune shop, did I? We'll check the rune shop here first. And we're going to look in here for some other stuff. Sadly, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of... Hello! So, remember I was talking about a heaping rune, good, cooldown and damage. Here's a good example of a heaping rune that could actually be kind of useful to use. The fire damage would basically do almost up to 300% or 300 fire damage. With boosted heroism, that would actually go over 300 in effect. And you'll notice that basically this is also used a physical effect. So if on my character, I don't really have to care too much about like defenses most of the time. There's a few times I might, but this would be like a good sort of candidate to sort of replace my wild infusion if like I didn't really care about defenses. This would give me a little bit more offense, and that can be useful, though it probably won't be as useful to me. It's something to look into. Here's like a good shielding rune that I could possibly look into. This one gives 424 shielding damage for me for 5 turns, skills of dexterity. So that's like the maximum it'll be right there. That's possibly worth replacing my regeneration rune for, but I kind of prefer keeping it, my current regeneration infusion. So This would be sort of a good candidate for replacing, say, another shielding rim, perhaps, if I have really a poor one. But we'll pass it up, I guess. There's also some other stuff in here. Here's like a control phase door of a warrior. I like control phase doors quite a bit in this game. They've actually received a big boost because wound infusions were actually weakened. You can actually make use of this to sort of get out of out of situations very easily. Similar to, say, using like a phase door to sort of get yourself out of situations. You don't get the ability to target with them, but you can still target your area where you're going to basically end up. So if I wasn't playing with a character that didn't have like a phase door talent like naturally, this would be a very good candidate to replace it with. All right, so nothing in here I really care, so to speak, of to replace my stuff with, but it's a good sort of place to look into to see what's going on, because there might be stuff that I might want to replace my stuff with. Now, I want to note something then. Just because like I sort of come back to Maj'Eyal, I can still get back to the Far East very easily. So we can go do that. We'll actually go to here, Reknor, and I'm actually going to go jump into the Gates of Morning. And I should note, by the way, in case I forgot, if you're viewing this episode at this point, it's kind of late to say so, but if you use the lesser or greater than keys, they're actually the period and comma key. You can actually change levels. You can also do it by right-clicking and say like change level right there. But just in case I sort of didn't tell you, that's how you can sort of do it. All right, so I'll note that you can use the far portal east here to get back to the unfamiliar cave. There is our good friend the elf. So I'll note that you don't really have to worry too much about getting back through the quest. You can just jump back through the far portal there, and we'll go to the Gates of Morning. So the Gates of Morning gets a reset after basically. I guess it doesn't really get a reset. This is probably all be the same thing. Yeah, it's actually all the same stuff. So I actually came here for nothing. Sorry about that. Yeah, all this is nothing. Well, anyhow, more or less, you can basically visit these stores from time to time to see if there's stuff to replace, your stuff with. Sometimes you'll find stuff in here that might be worth looking at. I should actually look at the other shops now, I guess, to see if there's any Constitution gear. If I find some Constitution gear in here, I can use that to sort of buff up my my fixed skin stat and basically do with that. Okay, what's my current Constitution boots? 3, so that's no better than the one I currently have. Most likely I can't wear anything in here, but I'll just do a quick check at the stuff I can. And this is 2 items, so no worry about that. Now, there is one little sad thing I have to sort of report. Even though like the wild infusion shops and rune shops get reset all over the place, they're generally the only shops that get reset. Generally in this game, shops aren't really that great, and if I was to like to go to like any of like the normal shops that are currently in Last Hope for like armor or weapon training and stuff like that, or weapon shops or blacksmiths and whatever else, the shops aren't actually going to have better gear than what they currently have. They're going to have basically the same gear that existed at the first time I basically dropped in here. So it's just all the crappy stuff that sort of was in here to begin with. Nothing really better. Have I got Constitution gloves? Well, would you look at that? But I actually sort of missed an item. So there's actually a pair of gloves in here I can actually use. That will actually boost up my con stat. Go figure. We'll buy that, and we'll make use of it when I need to. You know what, we're just going to do a quick check to see if there's any stuff in here. Just, there might be some Constitution gear that might be worth looking at. That I might have missed. Most of this stuff requires strength to put on, but this one gets Constitution. Boom. Another Constitution axe. Alright, you might actually see me doing something that I wasn't actually planning to show you guys, but it is something you can actually do. Look at that, another one. Do I find any +4 weapons, perhaps? +3, +2, +3. Sadly, I can't wear those ones. So, awesome. We actually picked up a few pieces of gear that have the Constitution stat on them. Guys, there's stuff I can't really wear, so we won't look at it. Did I go for this shop? Nah, doesn't really matter if I did. Alright, so just a quick check of all these shops because I never really went through them. So, I'm just going to do a quick check to see if I can do this now, but we're just going to go here. So, this ability gives me +4 con. Some of the stuff, this one gives +3 con, so I'll put it on temporarily. We don't really need you, so you're too weak. And put this on. Put this on, +3 con, +5 con, +3 con. Put those on for a little bit more con. Nice. Put that on. By the way, I'll cover that in a moment, but you'll notice that a bar just appeared up there. It's kind of light blue. Alright, so I'll note that when I equip one of these things right here, the Var's Redemption ring, this ring gives increased resources for a lot of stuff: mana, stamina, psi, and air capacity. So air capacity, normally it's only 100, air capacity for most characters, bar Yeeks. But some equipment will actually increase your air capacity so you can actually breathe longer and other stuff, like with air resource. So that's what happened sort of with the air resource. As you can see, once you basically recharge it, it basically just goes away once it's, unless if it's full, then you don't really see it. But it's there basically sort of make use of. Alright, Constitution. Hooray! There we go. That's high enough. So you know what we're going to do? Now, normally I don't do this, but something you can do. In past points, you can basically take out like your talent points and past skills that you've invested in. Like I could do it in all these ones over here. Basically for the past 3. So I could do like that, take out this one. I could take out the rushing over here a little bit. You can basically take up to like 4 points out of like, past talents that you invested in. And you can basically invest them back wherever you want. So I basically took a point out here, Bathe and Light. There we go. Bathe and Light has been, reduced to 1, but this is now up to 5/5. And as a result, I no longer need con gear for anything. I don't plan to really invest in this at all, so we're going to just drop this down. And that's it. We're not going to be doing anything else with con gear, so I can now get rid of that stuff. That's weighing me down now. Alright, we don't need any of this stuff, so we'll just take it off. And we'll take it off. Sell it all. I can actually sell these to stores, I guess, for a little bit more money, so I guess we'll do that. Yeah, we're going to put this back on. Yeah, we're going to keep this one on for a little bit longer. Or actually, one of the reasons I'm putting that cloak on over the other is because of fatigue. Okay, so I am still benefiting from it, reduced fatigue. So this is still worth putting on for reducing fatigue. So I'm going to just keep doing that. Put this back on. Put this back on. And you know what? I just thought of something. We are actually going to do another one of these like character development episodes when I get up to like level 50. There's one actual aspect that's actually worth noting that sort of happens at level 50 that sort of deserves its own like sort of episode, so to speak, in character development. So I'll do it then when we actually get to it. You know, I'm actually thinking about leaving this on. But we don't really need it on just yet, so we're actually going to just take it off. I had to think about that a little bit, but you know, it's not worth keeping, so to speak, right now. Oh, wait, no. Now this is now worthless. Okay, we're going to put on our Radiance Cloak. So, Radiance, this cloak will basically give me a little bit more damage and melee against enemies. I'll basically do 30 blinding light damage to them. And it'll also increase my stats, also increase my resistances. It's a fairly good all-around cloak, so to speak, for me to sort of use. This is kind of good, and it's probably still going to be useful, but I think we'll actually make do without this, or I'll probably sell that naturally, so I won't actually take it off just yet. We'll put that on our burglar's lamp, and let's just start selling off some of this stuff then. Let's go to Slingshot to sell it off. Alright, so let me see your wares. We're just going to sell this stuff off. Sell off these daggers. This is kind of cool. Can give you a bit more defenses and slows projectiles. But yeah, it's one of those things, you know, the Shanty Stormblade. It actually does have a purpose, but it's more defensive than anything else. I suppose it is actually still worth, you know, keeping around because it is still sort of useful, but it's debatable which is where it's going to be very useful. I might prefer, say, to have like the Dagger of the Past instead of this one right on my character for defensive purposes. Okay, we're going to get rid of you, and you, and you. So this is going to quickly give me a little bit more space on my character to do stuff. Whoops. Double click there. This is a nice defensive amulet. But you know what? We're actually not really going to use this over Feather Steel, I don't think, so we'll get rid of it. It's mostly for the Constitution, that one. This is still useful for combat. And this other stuff is all still useful for its own little things and such. Don't need this. Don't need that. So, much better increments now a little bit. There's still, you know, a little bit of stuff to sort of deal with, but it's better. Interesting. Let's just take this off. I'm going to put on the Silent Blade instead. So I think this might actually be a better sort of like, you know, dagger to sort of make use of because it has movement speed for defensive purposes. But I'm just looking at this stuff here. The thing about the Silent Blade and its Gentle's like Stormblade, this gives like reduced like projectile speed for stuff. So when people fire their projectiles at me, it takes longer for those projectiles to sort of hit me. The Silent Blade, it basically has a chance to do silence. And silence is very special when you basically have it on a weapon against spellcasters. So there's actually a good reason to sort of have it around. And I guess we put this stuff back. Yeah, we're just going to get rid of this. I don't really need Varg's Redemption. Don't need this either, really. So take them off, take them off. Just going to transmogrify these ones. We'll put back on our blinding speed. And this guy. And that will be it for that stuff. Alright, so I think I've taken up enough of your time, just basically, you know, buying stuff in front of you. That's all this really was, a shopping episode at the end of it. But you more or less have seen like me sort of like do a little bit more character development of my character. He's basically getting ready to sort of, you know, just, you know, make his way through the Far East. He's basically got 13 more levels to maximum level. 50 is the maximum level. And he'll be buffing up, you know, all this stuff here and all this stuff over here. And once we get to level 50, I'll do, I guess, a follow-up episode basically telling you a little about what my character's, you know, strengths and weaknesses sort of were made to be and what they're going to, you know, be able to do. And, you know, we'll do one little quick check just before we basically head off to the final fight. For now, though, take care, and we'll see you guys until next time.